50 years ago tonight, the tragedy of the Edmund Fitzgerald changed lives across the Great Lakes, including in Sturgeon Bay.
Well, two local men were among the crew. I went to the Door County Maritime Museum as the community paused to honor their legacy. On November 10th, 1975, a fierce storm swept across Lake Superior and the Edmund Fitzgerald sank beneath the waves. The Door County Maritime Museum, in conjunction with their We Hold Our Own exhibit, paying tribute to the crew on the 50th anniversary of the wreck.
Because there were two men from Sturgeon Bay who lost their lives amongst those 29 that night. So this community really coming together and recognizing that loss.
The family members of the two men, Oliver Buck-Champeau and Russell Haskell, joining in the remembrance.
50 years of pain that has never gone away. And we want people to recognize and acknowledge that this is still, these men were still part of our community, and they are part of our own that we are holding in our hearts this evening on this 50th anniversary.
A prayer, a poem, and the toll of 29 bells, each honoring a life cut short. A reminder that Sturgeon Bay will always remember the mighty Fitz and the sons it lost to the Great Lakes.